All right, welcome to today's episode of Free to Lead, Journeys of Leaders, driven by passion, inspired by purpose. I'm joined today with Luigi Pecoraro. And Luigi is a pioneer and innovator in executive education. He's got a 30-year career in advanced, pragmatic, and effective executive leadership solutions, which makes him a sought-out speaker and author worldwide. And his motto is to always stay current, relevant, and meaningful, especially regarding business and life. And he's become a foremost leader in executive education. He holds a doctorate in education from the University of Pennsylvania, and he specializes in custom leadership programs, career development, and talent development. All right, Luigi, it's great to have you on the Free to Lead podcast. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. All right. Well, why don't you tell us all a little bit about so you were just tell us about where you are right now and then your backstory, how you ended up here.
Yes, executive director of Eller Executive Education. It's a niche space in the university world. I think others might think of what we do as training and development out there in the world, but we're attached to a university. We sit at the intersection of academia and corporate America. Our role is to bridge that gap, not bridge the gap, but bridge the world of good evidence-based research with our faculty and bring it to the world of corporate learning, working professionals. Bring the best of what we have with our faculty to leadership in the corporate world. So I sit at that intersection, and that's what executive education does. How it distinguishes itself from other training and development companies is by bringing evidence-based learning to that world.
And what's your own leadership journey? How did you end up here? If you just give us.
It's kind of a funny story. I got into training and development a long time ago. I got a master's in adult education and training, and so trained by the Jesuits, and I think they had a big influence on me on becoming an educator. Wanted to work with people and help people, and found that was the best path. And most of my friends went toward the secondary education route, and I just didn't feel that was the right route for me. So I decided to work with adults. And so that's why I got the master's in adult education and started my career in healthcare, working in a healthcare environment. And really, for the first 10 years, that's what I did, training and development in a variety of settings. And then I shifted into more career coaching and career development coaching. I followed a mentor of mine into that field. And ironically, as a career coach, I had not really discovered executive education yet. And so I had a very significant experience in 2005 where I attended an executive education program in my hometown with a very famous professor, Dr. Richard Boyatzis. And that was a very significant day, learning from him in exec ed. I learned a lot about, first of all, the value of executive education. I learned about evidence-based research and the value of that around emotional intelligence. That's his expertise. He's one of the authors, along with Dan Goleman, on primal leadership and resonant leadership, two good books on leadership. And then I recognized my own journey and need to grow in emotional intelligence that day. And finally, he was one of my inspirations for looking to go forward and get my doctorate. He said the average age of someone getting their doctorate was 49. And I had given up on that dream. And so it was a very significant day. And I recognized that exec ed was an opportunity in the future. And it took me a little while, but I ended up eventually getting into exec ed in 2013. And ironically, working at Weatherhead School of Management with Dr. Boyatzis.
Very good. If someone listening to this is an entrepreneur running their own business, and you quite often hear people say, this is probably going to sound a little controversial or devil's advocate, okay? But it's what's going on. So I trust what's going on with me could be going on with lots of other people listening. So somebody coming for executive education, first off, what are they coming for? What's typically the thing they want to learn?
Yeah, so I one of two things. One, how to better lead people. So that would be what I call the pure leadership area of how to work with people more effectively, how to coach, develop, coach for performance, inspire people, motivate people, set a vision for their business, work with teams more effectively. And then you have the other side, which is to sharpen their business acumen skills, perhaps better financial acumen, strategy, marketing strategy. So those areas of the market, business discipline that a business school, which is where exec ed usually is attached to more directly. It could be either or a combination of both that they're looking for. We're really there to help them impact their business results.
Good, good. So I watch a lot of influencers, as
Mm.
in what I like are entrepreneurs are out there, they're pushing the margin,
Yep.
pushing into new ground, they're breaking through, or they're getting a setback, but then picking themselves up. Like those kind of guys, I talk, they say things like, when I started my first business, I learned more than I'd learned in business school in 4 years in the first 6 months. So
Yeah.
what would you say to those guys if you were trying to attract them to your education?
Yeah, so no, I get that. Yeah, I think you've heard that phrase, everything that I didn't learn at Harvard, right? Academia can get too theoretical. It can get a little bit out of touch with what's going on in the real world. There's no doubt that happens. In exec ed, we are very much practitioner oriented, very much pragmatic and practical. If it can't help somebody do something at the end of the day, it's not good. It's not good learning. And so it's our job in our field to make sure that what we are teaching and what we focus on has that applicability immediately. So it's not theoretical. We might draw from theory, but we're not going to get into where we're even drawing from
Mm.
because good theory we know has the reason it's good theory is because it's able to predict and or suggest that it's an operating philosophy or approach that has good predictability. It's likely to happen. We know that people who demonstrate certain competencies more consistently around emotional intelligence outperform others. We don't need to get into all the theory about that, but I can tell you, hey, if you demonstrate these behaviors, you're going to have better success. And we'll show you how to do that. We stay very practically oriented. Me and my colleague have coined the term pracademic.
Again,
Practical.
slowly. I've read it, so I know what you said. But if you say it
Yeah,
slowly, people listening.
pracademic. Prac
Pracademic,
Yes,
practical
practitioner,
academic.
practitioner who has a
Right.
strong academic background, right?
Great.
Practical practitioner, they have these fancy terms, scholars and scholarly practitioners, but those folks really focus on research. We are practitioners who have strong academic backgrounds, meaning we understand where the learning is coming from, but we're all focused on getting people to utilize that learning in the best way.
All right, great. Now, if you look back in your own career, what have been some of the challenges that have really challenged you? And then from that, maybe a setback or something or a failure somewhere where you really learned something. You got any nuggets for people listening in?
Yeah, I've been in the training and development field most of my career. I would say about, what was it, about 5 to 7 years into my career, I shifted into sales and business development, actually. So I went to represent a training and development company. And partly because the position that I was in training and development, I went through a layoff at that time and a variety of search. I ended up finding an opportunity to represent a training company. I thought if I'm going to sell something, why not sell training? I know training. And in essence, being inside an organization, you're always persuading senior executives to invest in training. I thought, I can do this. Little did I know what kind of challenge that would be. And I did it on straight commission. That was a big shift. And I can remember one January making nothing, no commission, zero. And what am I doing here? How did I get myself into this? Through that true entrepreneurial spirit, like when they say, hey, you know what? I didn't make payroll. I didn't make payroll for myself, for my family. What am I going to do? And that's a gut check. I've got to figure this out. I've got to understand what I'm not doing enough here. And it's those moments of adversity that really challenge you to examine yourself and are you in the right place and are you doing the right thing and what do you need to learn from this to improve yourself and do better. And I just believed in myself and I believed in the work we were doing. And I started to do a mind shift, and I think I had really had was a little bit buying the Kool-Aid too much on being too salesy and not consultative enough, not really listening to the needs of the people that I was working with. And I started to build better relationships and understand needs better. And that really started to transform my approach to working with people more effectively on business development.
Yeah, I heard three nuggets in there, right? So
Mhm.
were doing, but then you focused on the three things I picked out. You said more, but listening, the needs of the people you're trying to sell to, right? And building your relationships with that.
I was pushing product.
Before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was pushing
very good.
product too hard. I was new to the discipline and field, and that's partly how I was trained, but partly what I felt my job was to do, not having been in that arena before. I knew my
Yeah,
product, like the engineer, the technical engineer. I knew my product and my service, and I wanted to sell it. But what I didn't, there's the phrase that people buy for their reasons, not for yours. And you need to understand what their reason for buying is before you sell.
brilliant. Great. Great. I've heard that said many different ways, but what I love about it is you discovered that for yourself through that adversity.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
now that I was thinking about this interview before we had it, right? So it's in education. Okay, so he teaches people things. All right, good. I'm coming. This philosophy I've been instilled with is you can't really tell anybody anything. They have to discover it for themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
And you just give me a great example in your own life how you just did that. So
Mm.
very pleased you came out with that. That's great. And for anybody listening, that means, oh, nobody can teach me anything. That means I just go out and make loads of failure and loads of mistakes. We're not going that far. We're not swinging the pendulum that far, right? You can learn everything you learn, but some of those failures are not failures. You're just an opportunity to learn something that you never thought of learning or you didn't
Yeah,
hear when it was being taught to you.
right. And I didn't come to all those conclusions just from my own self-reflection. I'm a learner. My style of learning also is to have conversations with other people, right? Having a conversation with my sales manager, having a conversation with my mentor and coach. That's how I learn best, is through conversations with others about my experience. And so the classroom can be a place where you can facilitate those kinds of conversations for folks. That's how I see it.
Brilliant. Yes, great. Very good. All right, good. And so where are you are now in the, I was going to say in the business, but it's an education, but an education is a business at the same time, a non-profit
Yeah,
nonetheless. Yeah. So where do
that's
you
right.
see yourselves in, where would you say you are now in your development and where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Great question, because I took this role on a year ago for the very reason of challenging my own leadership development and skills. I started in executive education in 2003. I fell in love with the work of leadership development and went back to get my doctorate because I wanted to make this my end career. Like this is my what I wanted to do for the rest of my career. So I did that and continued the work after being at Weatherhead School of Management by going to Southern Methodist University, another great opportunity there. But after almost, what, 13 to 23, 10 years, I felt like, hey, you know what? I know the playbook now. I've done this, I've done it, had my successes. I really want an opportunity to lead a group, lead an effort, set the strategy and the vision, do all the things leaders do in my field where I do have the expertise and the knowledge to grow a business and to put my leadership skills to the test. And that's what I'm doing essentially at this point. I came in and picked up an organization that was in transition that needed leadership. And I set a course to put a strategic plan in place, to do a full marketing analysis and review and repositioning for our organization, build on the success we had, but to look to build a team and set a very positive goal and direction for Leap Day 2028 as
Oh,
to where we want to be. Begin with the end in mind has always been a big motivator for me. Where do we want to be on Leap Day 2028? So Feb
right.
29, 28, where do we want to be and what's it going to take to get there? Set the vision and work from there. And that's where we're at. And so over the last year, I've been building our capacity and capability to do that, filling the pipeline. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Done some things well, some things I could still do better. I'm using that 10 years of experience to try to do things that I've seen that have worked well, repeat them. Things that I've seen that haven't worked well, avoid them. And then I think also anytime you're leading and going into a new context and a new environment, and now it's the age of AI, and you've got to also be flexible, open to new possibilities. As an entrepreneur, like you say, you got to stay hungry and nimble. And we're always staying, in terms of staying current and relevant, we have to keep listening to what our customers want and be ready to respond.
Brilliant. Luigi, how would people get in touch with you if they want to find out more or engage in your services, etc.? How would they reach you?
Yeah, you certainly connect on LinkedIn. That's a great way. And my email is there if you connect with me. But yeah, it's my full name, Luigi Pecoraro. I know that's a mouthful, but it's a good Italian
Yes.
lesson. It's a good
Yes.
Italian lesson as well. LuigiPecoraro at arizona.edu. It's the best way to get to me, and love to have a conversation about leadership, my favorite topic.
Brilliant. All right, Luigi, thank you so much for being on Free to Lead, Journeys of
Oh,
Leaders.
thank you.
Passion, inspired by purpose. And thank you for letting me put you on the spot a little bit towards the end, but we did start to get your leadership, not talking about leadership, your leadership. So thank you so much for being willing to participate.
You bet.
All right.
My pleasure. Thank you, Will. Been great.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.